In the Galapagos Islands, there were a variety of 85 birds recorded. The finches became a paragon of adaptive radiation, which gave a driving force to Darwin's views on evolution. Darwin's finches showed the modification of descendants of the early colonists of the islands. Adaptive radiation is the increase in the number of species rapidly with a common ancestor. This is distinguished by broad ecological and morphological diversity since organisms adapt to new ecological niches. The diversity of Galapagos finches during evolution have modified their beaks in size and morphology in order to adapt to different diets. Fundamentally, the different environments and sources of food resulted in the different species of finches. Through evolutionary process, the adaptation of the beaks of Galapagos finches vary due to the different types of food supply. Radiation refers to the taxonomic diversity, thus, it showed an increase in biodiversity, and this evolutionary pattern emerged from such an evolutionary process. In performing the simulation, the materials needed in order to simulate the beak types are two plastic spoons faced to each other, tongue, tweezer, chopsticks, binder clip, and laundry clip. For the simulation of different food types, rubber bands, marshmallows, nips, rice grains, toothpicks, and paper clips were used. Other materials needed were 6 containers, empty cups, flat plate or tray, and a stopwatch. The setup of the birdbeak simulation had 6 simulated food types placed separately on 6 different containers. The variety of materials provided can equate to cut up rubber bands as worms, toothpicks as stick insects, rice grains as ants, mini marshmallows as plump juicy grubs, nips as seeds. Water or sugar may be added to establish similar conditions to the natural environment, such as worms on the sand.
Once setup is established, begin by gathering all the materials needed for the simulation activity. First, set out a chosen food type on a flat surface. Here, we set out the toothpicks on the tray. The activity would need 6 people, each assigned to a specific beak simulation. 1 for the 2 plastic spoons faced to each other, 1 for the tongue, 1 for the tweezer, 1 for the chopsticks, 1 for the binder clip, and 1 for the laundry clip, using these to pick up the food laid on the ground. The 6 individuals will compete against each other in gathering as much food as possible using their assigned tools at the same time. The gathered food will be transferred to his or her free hand that should be held up against the body. The player's hand must remain above the level of the table at all times. Food can only be picked up on the ground setup and not stolen from another competitor's stomach or hand. One should not use their tools for other purposes such as hitting or poking. Avoid body checking and other forms of cheating. Once all the food on the table is eaten, the round stops and each player will count how many food items each one has captured. Results will be tabulated according to the species, type of beak, and environment, which is the type of food. Repeat the simulation for the remaining food types: rice grains, the nips, marshmallows, and paper clips. Once data has been collected, create a bar graph to identify the percentage of food eaten in each environment by each beak type. Label the graph and color code accordingly. Include a legend representing a color for each beak type.
The simulation can be performed alone by competing against a clock and determine how much food can be gathered in a set time period. In this activity, we identify generalist and specialist species. Generally, species have a broad niche and are able to adapt to various environmental conditions. They do not have a limited diet and are able to survive by using a variety of resources. On the other hand, specialist species have a narrow niche and are not adaptable to environmental changes. They have a limited diet and cannot survive without the necessary diet. Beaks of birds can come in varying shapes and sizes due to the species' advances to adapt to their environment. Adaptations arise as a part of the evolution of these species through time. The different food types represented different environments. These environments have forced birds to develop different types of beaks to enable them to eat different food types. Organisms act for the resources they need to survive, such as air, space, food, and water. And that is how the bird beak simulation exhibits the process of evolution. We hope this helped. Thank you for watching. To know more about the activity, you may read on the origin of species on Darwin's Galapagos finches.